Ecopolis, future megacity. It's not a real place, but a possible blueprint for city life in 2050, unless technology can turn things around. Overcrowded, polluted, and an environmental mess. This is Ecopolis. In this groundbreaking 6-part series, Nobel Prize-winning scientist Dan Kamen reveals the technology that could transform our cities and usher in a brighter future. This episode, waste.
Our consumer culture is generating a volume of waste and a toxicity of waste that's not good for anyone on the planet.
Using Ecopolis as a testbed, Kamen investigates new cutting-edge technologies.
I have to be sure the technology will deliver by 2050. They have to be cost-effective and user-friendly.
He hopes to discover those technologies that can revolutionize our future and save all the world's cities from possible disaster. Ecopolis, population 18 million and climbing fast. 3/4 of us could live in places like this by 2050. Experts warn that citizens of future megacities may create 5 times more carbon dioxide and rapidly speed global warming. And by 2050, Ecopolis's teeming millions will spew out more than twice the trash of a typical megacity today.
We're buying more and more stuff, more wrappers, more containers, some products we buy. All of that has to go somewhere and has to be broken down and disposed of.
Dan Kamen is a Nobel Prize-winning scientist and environmental top gun. He plans to fix Ecopolis with new technology. This episode, Kamen will explore 4 ideas from 4 visionary scientists. But he can choose only one.
It can't be some high-tech science fiction solution. It's got to be one that the city managers and their systems can effectively put in place and operate.
We need new technologies, fast. The first idea offers an imaginative solution to our ever-growing deluge of trash. A technology that can turn waste into paradise by putting garbage into the sea. But this is no toxic time bomb. It could lock away pollutants for thousands of years. Singapore, famous for being spotlessly clean. But until recently, it had a dirty secret. Like all major cities, it sends its garbage to landfills. As this island nation boomed, the city ran out of dump space. Planners realized they had to face facts or risk urban meltdown. Naples, Italy. Landfills reach crisis point. Authorities close the dumps. Riots flare as trash fills the streets. This is what can happen when city trash dumps start to overflow. Experts say it's an emergency most megacities will face by 2050. It's already a huge problem for tiny, densely populated Singapore. But the city-state is pioneering a new way to handle trash. Chief Engineer Eng Tiang-Sing heads the team assigned this drastic problem.
When we came up with this master plan, we recognized that the traditional landfill, in the way it's operated, it will be filled up in no time at all. So we started looking offshore.
Eng knows he can't just dump Singapore's unprocessed waste into the sea. That would create an environmental catastrophe. It's a huge challenge. And Eng had to find a radical solution. What if he could compact Singapore's trash and safely stow it in a giant artificial island?
This could be a solution for most of the countries that are now facing problems with rubbish.
But this bold vision carries a high price. $400 million. And making it a reality means overcoming monumental challenges. The first step, reduce Singapore's trash to 1/10 of its original volume. by burning it. But conventional incineration creates pollution. Solution? The Tuas South plant, one of the world's biggest and cleanest incinerators. Its vast furnaces devour 3,000 tons of trash a day. The heat generates electricity, and catalytic converters clean most of the gases emitted. But even super efficient incineration leaves a troublesome byproduct: ash. How do you turn a pile of toxic ash into an island? The engineers conceived a bold plan. They bring 2 small islands just off Singapore's shore with a 4-mile band of rock. Inside this outer ring, they plan 11 interconnected watertight cells. The cells will hold over 380 million cubic feet of ash. 1,000 workers dig down as far as 75 feet, excavating nearly 4 million cubic yards of soft marine clay. But the most critical job is still to come. Engineers must prevent toxins in the ash from leaching into the sea. The team builds an impermeable wall, a sandwich of marine clay, sand, and a high-tech polyethylene membrane. This should hold the ash and satisfy Singapore's waste disposal needs until 2040. Huge barges haul ash to the island. When a cell is full, trash manager Ong Chong Peng sends in the bulldozers.
We are then covered up with a layer of good earth, top earth, and eventually this area will become a grassland.
Fertile soil and grass cover the ash, and nature goes to work. Result? Samacau Island, a lush green habitat blooming above Singapore's toxic trash. A haven for wildlife and rare plants.
While we are getting rid of the waste in Singapore, at the same time we are creating a piece of new land. So how to do it safely and efficiently is a great challenge.
If any toxins do seep out, they could poison marine life and even threaten human health. So engineers regularly check for leaks.
So what we are doing here is to lower assembling probes to a depth of about 10 meters. From there we retrieve a sample of water. And from there we want to ensure that the water is not polluted.
For now, Samacau gets a clean bill of health. But to keep it that way, scientists devised a natural early warning system. 500,000 specially planted mangrove trees. When it comes to pollution, this species is like a canary in a coal mine. If the smallest trace of toxins reaches its roots, it dies.
Mangrove would be the first to be affected. If anything happened to them, it would be a good indicator for us that something is wrong and we should then take immediate action.
Developers could eventually transform Samacau into a new cityscape, valuable breathing space for Singapore.
I must admit that when we started, we didn't expect, this kind of result. I mean, it was a good solution, we thought, but the fact that it's now turned out to be a haven for people to come and enjoy the island, I think it is a wonderful thing.
In the future, instead of overloading landfills, trash could create a string of paradise islands. A remarkable solution to our planet's landfill crisis. Will Dan Cameron back landfill islands as the best technology to solve Ecopolis' looming waste problem? Helping him decide is scientific think tank, the Center for Alternative Technology. The team will assess each technology's capacity to reduce the megacity's carbon footprint. But Cameron has the final word. He can choose only one idea from the 4 offered. The carbon counters calculate Singapore's landfill island could slice 3% off Ecopolis' overall carbon footprint. Cameron likes the idea.
The amount of trash that we lock away into these new bits of urban islands is a very positive feature. And getting material out of traditional landfills so that it doesn't rot is a good thing.
But there's a drawback. To create the islands, incinerators have to burn the waste to ash. And even Singapore's super-efficient energy-generating incinerator creates some pollution.
The problem is we are still burning the waste to get energy. That process still does produce carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases.
Cameron still has 3 more planet-changing technologies to explore before he gives his verdict. Next, a breakthrough waste disposal system that doesn't burn trash, it annihilates it. Ecopolis, 2050. A mountain of trash threatens to engulf the megacity. Experts say all future megacities will face this problem. And it's not just the surface of our planet that's awash in waste. Even in space, our junk is piling up. Over 11,000 dead satellites and rockets litter the skies, and things can only get worse. Back here on Earth, as landfills load up, many cities are taking a new tack: trash and burn. Incineration is one of the most popular ways to get rid of rubbish. It needs less space, and it's cheap. But top scientist Dan Kamen says where there's fire, there's smoke.
It's not just burning some organic compounds that produces carbon dioxide. We have lots of plastics and metals and other compounds. And as we burn those, we produce toxic compounds in the air. This is an equation for an urban disaster.
Some incinerators even produce dioxins, poisons linked to cancers and birth defects. We need an alternative to trash and burn, fast. This idea is straight out of sci-fi. It blitzes garbage at temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun, but without burning it. And soon, it could be powering our homes. Chemical engineer Chris Chapman wants to unlock the gold mine in our garbage. He's pioneering a process that vaporizes our trash and recovers enough energy to power the cities of the future.
We're actually seeing a paradigm shift in waste management, where waste, in fact, is not being seen as waste, where the emphasis is on materials recycling and energy recovery.
Chapman took inspiration from a technology that deals with the world's deadliest waste: contaminants from chemical weapons. The process, plasma gasification, mimics conditions on the surface of the sun. Into this high-tech furnace, engineers put our most hazardous waste. The extreme heat reduces these toxic compounds to their simple chemical elements. What's left? A solid slag and energy-rich gases. Chapman's big idea is to adapt this technology to zap household waste and use the resulting gases to make electricity. At an experimental plant in Wiltshire, England, he takes on the challenge. After machines remove recyclables like glass and plastic, the trash arrives as shredded garbage. Business partner Jeremy Farthing shares Chapman's vision for making waste pay.
What we're interested in is the nasty stuff that nobody wants anymore, that you've really got nothing else that you can do with it.
But using plasma gasification to turn trash into free electricity has a drawback. The energy needed to destroy just 1 ton of garbage would power 700 homes for a whole year. The numbers just don't add up. Chapman needs to slash his energy bill. He hits on a big idea. Instead of running solid waste directly into the plasma unit, why not turn it into tiny particles first? Inside a 27-foot steel chamber, superheated steam and oxygen blast a sand bed at the base. The sand reaches 1600 degrees Fahrenheit, grinding raw waste into vapor and ash without combustion. Garbage in, tiny particles out. Blasting the trash to bits should cut the energy needed for the next stage. The ultimate power of plasma. When the plasma arc converter starts up, it sends 650 volts between two electrodes, creating an electrical arc, like lightning. Direct an inert gas through this arc, and something extraordinary happens. It becomes a ferocious 18,000 degree Fahrenheit column of plasma. Plasma, known as the fourth state of matter, is rare on Earth. But out in the universe, it's everywhere. All stars contain matter in the form of plasma. And as stars do, Chapman's plasma column gives off immense heat and ultraviolet radiation. Chapman's team pumps the trash particles into the plasma column. The effect is spectacular. The UV and heat attack the more complex long-chain compounds, breaking them down. The result? A volatile, energy-laden gas. Its power-generating potential far outweighs the system's running costs. Chapman's two-stage process made plasma gasification a cost-effective way to turn trash into electricity.
That was a fantastic moment, truly, because we now knew we've got the process. And that really was very, very memorable.
The gas cools, and after processing, it's ready for use in power generation. Chapman's dream is now a reality. A high-tech recycling system that turns trash into clean electricity. The test plant shows the system could generate 5 times more power than it takes to run. Chapman believes the process will work on a grand scale. If all the cities of the future use plasma plants to process their trash, they could slash toxic and greenhouse gas emissions.
You're very aware of the legacy, the inheritance you're giving to the next generation. I do have a great sense of pride and achievement.
And clean energy is not all our junk could deliver. Plasma gasification is already used to recover valuable platinum from old catalytic converters. The process turns junkyards and landfills from problems into potential gold mines.
It is unique because it offers a total solution. You are able to treat pretty much any waste stream and create not only your electricity, but also we are wasting virtually nothing.
Garbage to energy with near zero emissions. And trash turned into cash.
We're now seeing really a revolution in the way waste is managed. In fact, soon maybe even the word waste will cease to exist.
By 2050, even the way we transport our waste could change radically. Replacing gas-guzzling garbage trucks with a futuristic collection system. Trash heads down a chute outside every home. Then, pressurized air takes over, speeding it through underground tunnels at 40 miles an hour to local plasma plants, where it generates electricity. Someday, this advanced trash highway could make the gas plasma process even more environmentally friendly. But now, Dan Kamen must decide if the advanced technology of gas plasma can help head off disaster in Ecopolis. Chris Chapman's gas plasma system replicates conditions on the sun to turn waste into energy with near zero emissions. This man-made lightning sounds like a tool that could help save our planet. But Nobel scientist Dan Kamen must decide if it beats the other 3 waste-busting technologies.
Gas plasmification is very exciting because it takes a wide range of our trashes, a whole range of compounds, and reduces it back to a set of simple gases that we can then burn and make energy out of. So it's actually getting something positive out of our pile of waste.
But Cameron is concerned that the technology is simply too high-tech for many cities.
We're going to have solutions that cities are able to adopt, that they fit with the scale of a city, and that the amount of technology and management is something that the cities can really take on and do.
The Center for Alternative Technology has calculated how each idea would affect Ecopolis's carbon emissions. This one knocks a small but significant 3% off Ecopolis's total carbon bill. Exactly the same as Singapore's landfill islands. By 2050, Ecopolis will churn out over 100,000 tons of garbage a day. Up to half may be organic waste.
Part of our urban waste problem is that we take organic materials, excess food and other organics, and just put them into landfills, where they then rot and produce methane that goes into the atmosphere.
Methane is a greenhouse gas 23 times more potent than carbon dioxide. If scientists could stop the methane bubbling from Ecopolis's trash, it would have the same effect as taking 350,000 cars off the road. This engineer thinks she's got a solution. Black gold from our rotting garbage. An ancient secret that could cut waste mountains, reduce carbon emissions, and reinvigorate our ravaged planet. The average American consumes 24 acres worth of natural resources every year. As the population grows, demand rises. Farmers exhaust the land in the struggle to keep pace, pumping in chemical fertilizers to boost output. But in Australia, chemical engineer Adriana Downey has an alternative. It uses organic waste to avert environmental disaster.
Current agricultural practices degrade the land and cause up to 25% of our greenhouse gas emissions. So we've got to embrace solutions that are here and now, and we believe we've got one.
Downey's technology has its roots in a long-lost farming secret. Legends tell of how the ancient people of the Amazon turned barren soil into some of the world's best farmland. These Amazonian farmers had no chemical fertilizers, but somehow they enriched their land. Until now, nobody knew how. Environmental pioneer Stephen Joseph has analyzed the super soil. He calls it by its Portuguese name, terra preta, or dark earth. He's been trying to decode its secrets in order to recreate it.
What I've been trying to do over the last 5 years is to use the practices of the Amazonian Indians. They used a mixture of charcoal from their fire, and we think maybe charcoal from kilns, and they mixed this in, and then every year they would put more and more of this material, so they would build up this huge depth of these dark earths.
To repeat their trick, Joseph burned organic waste to create charcoal, or char, that he mixed into the soil. 5 years ago, his garden was full of hard clay. But Joseph's char has worked its magic.
I'm now getting this wonderful dark soil, which is very, very productive. I'm feeding my family and all the neighborhood.
Joseph knew that to turn his backyard experiment into practical technology useful to farmers, he had to learn why his super soil packed such a punch.
I think that the surfaces of this terra preta are alive. They're chemically and electrochemically alive. And it's these active surfaces that are providing all the benefits for plant growth and microorganism growth.
Joseph believes the secret of the charcoal's fertility lies partly in its honeycomb structure, which provides a home for billions of bacteria and fungi.
What we see is a very complex mixture of carbon and clay. The surfaces of these particles are very active, and this helps to take the nutrients into the plant, and it helps to grow microorganisms, and it helps to retain water.
Joseph's work helped crack the code. But scaling up production to a commercial level demanded the skills of a chemical engineer. Adriana Downey works for one of the companies now racing to mass produce modern terra preta. She calls it biochar. And she believes that it could be far more than just a supercharged fertilizer.
I'm personally excited about the biochar technology because it really joins the sustainability of agriculture with being able to have energy security with a climate change solution.
Here's how. Biochar is created by burning organic waste from cities and farms. Biomass. Left to rot, this waste would produce greenhouse gases. Downey's process not only creates an organic super fertilizer, but also a free supply of green energy.
There's lots of opportunities around the globe where there's huge amounts of biomass waste that are underutilised. We could greatly improve resource recovery from cities if we took that waste biomass and used it to produce the energy required in those cities.
This is incineration with a difference. Burning organic waste usually releases lots of carbon dioxide, the chief greenhouse gas. The solution is pyrolysis, a type of combustion that uses minimal oxygen. In normal combustion, carbon bonds with oxygen to form carbon dioxide. But in a pyrolysis kiln, low levels of oxygen create far less CO2. Instead of making CO2, pyrolysis turns much of the carbon into an energy-laden volatile gas.
The biomass comes from the feed hopper into the rotary kiln. As it moves through the kiln, it's dried using the waste heat that we recover from the system. Once it's dry, it comes out of the back end of the kiln and enters the pyrolysis kiln. It's there where it's heated up without any oxygen. The volatile gases are driven off.
Burning the gas generates green electricity, a big benefit of the biochar process.
And ultimately, out of the back end of the plant, we get the biochar.
But there's an even bigger bonus. Pyrolysis locks or sequesters the remaining carbon inside the biochar. Downey realized that plowing biochar into the soil should keep carbon from entering the atmosphere in the form of harmful CO2.
Really, our focus when we started wasn't on the ability to sequester carbon long-term in soils, but as we go further into the technology, we're realizing that's where the real potential is.
Both landfill and incineration return the carbon in organic waste to the atmosphere. If biochar does lock in carbon, it could turn farmland into a giant carbon storage facility. It's called a carbon sink, and some scientists believe it could help reverse global warming. First, Downey must persuade the world's farmers to embrace biochar. Her neighbor, sugarcane grower Robert Quirk, has signed up for trials.
Got some biochar here. This is it, the black stuff. Excellent. It seems to be able to break the soil up fairly well. Our fertiliser rates are down, so I believe we're really onto something.
Testing shows that biochar boosted Quirk's crop yields by a staggering 50%. It's proof that waste from our cities could be the ultimate earth-friendly fertilizer. But the big question is, can biochar really lock in carbon and keep it out of the atmosphere? Agricultural scientist Lucas van Swieten checks how much carbon escapes from treated soil as CO2.
I've got a fairly simple sampling device that will trap the sample of gas in this aluminium bag, and we can take it back to the laboratory and have a pretty good indication then of how much greenhouse gas has been emitted from the soil.
Early results are promising and suggest the soil does emit less carbon dioxide. The biochar pioneers have come a long way. Their goal was to recreate an ancient fertilizer from waste. In the process, they stumbled onto what could be a global carbon buster.
Once we could demonstrate the technology here locally, then we could really roll it out around the world so it can achieve its true potential.
Biochar is a multifaceted technology. But will it win in the waste standoff? It's up to Nobel Prize-winning scientist Dan Kamen to decide. And he likes the idea of biochar returning our garbage to its original source.
It connects the loop, if you will, back from our urban lifestyle to the rural one, and it in fact connects the source of our foods and the ultimate place where we use it in those big cities of the future.
Could a 4,000-year-old soil secret really save Ecopolis? Or will our final technology triumph? It's a surprisingly personal power supply that will never run out. Nobel Prize winner Dan Kammen is on a mission. He's evaluating 4 new technologies that could solve the waste problem in Ecopolis, future megacity. He can choose only one. How will biochar score? The carbon counters tally the carbon saved if Ecopolisians recycled their organic waste to create this super fertilizer. The results are astonishing. It could cut an amazing 21% of carbon from the megacity's footprint. Kammen is impressed.
An important part of the biochar story is it not only produces energy, but allows us to store or sequester carbon in the soils. Most of our technologies we're talking about here don't do that.
But Kammen wonders how long biochar can lock carbon in the soil.
If what we see is that this works in the beginning, but in the second or third or fourth or 10th farming season, the soil is no longer holding more of that carbon, then this really diminishes the value of biochar as a way to store carbon away.
Before he makes his final decision, Kammen has one last idea to explore. We're in the midst of a waste revolution. To survive the future and preserve scarce resources, we may have to reuse and recycle waste as never before. And Kammen thinks we'll have to search for value in even the most unlikely waste products.
Making our cities sustainable is going to require finding new and innovative ways to capture materials and waste that we otherwise thought were just a problem.
Beneath every city in the world flows a rich stream of alternative fuel. A vast, untapped river of energy that never runs out. But it isn't a revolutionary fossil fuel or cutting-edge nuclear science. In fact, it's something we'd rather not think about at all. Human waste. Each day, the average American flushes away 100 gallons of liquid and solid waste. Add water from showers, washers, and sinks, and the figures are colossal. More than 10 trillion gallons of sewage sliding toward treatment plants every year. Its average temperature is 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Heat energy that is simply flushed away. A resource the citizens of Ecopolis cannot afford to discard. Heat energy specialist Chris Baber is a man with a plan. His idea? Extract warmth from human waste and use it to heat the city.
The biggest reaction we have when we talk about sewage heat recovery is curiosity. People want to know what it is and how it works.
Baber runs a sewage heat project that will soon have the eyes of the world upon it. In 2010, Vancouver will host the Winter Olympics. Olympic Village, built on southeast False Creek, will use heat from its sewage to stay warm. It's a first for North America. Baber's immediate challenge is convincing Vancouver that this alternative technology is practical for so high-profile a project.
Sewage heat recovery wasn't initially an easy sell. There are also a lot of concerns about how viable it would be and would it be something that would work.
Worldwide, only 3 such innovative systems have ever been attempted. 1 in Tokyo, 2 in Norway. Norwegians know all about capturing energy from unpromising places. Their scientists lead the world in extracting heat from the sea, lakes, and rivers using hydrothermal technology. And here in Sandvika, engineers pioneered the use of sewage for heating. They built a gigantic heat exchange system, taking warm sewage from Oslo and extracting the slurry's energy to power Sandvika's homes and offices. So how do the Norwegians transform lukewarm sewage into piping hot central heating? Plant manager Atle Nurstiba runs Sandvika's super-efficient heat pump.
The sewage is coming from the sewage pumps through these stainless steel pipes and goes up to the heat exchanger, the green one here, that is the sewage heat exchanger.
A liquid refrigerant absorbs warmth from the sewage. That turns the refrigerant into a gas. This gas enters a compressor that puts it under extreme pressure, raising its temperature to a steamy 158 degrees Fahrenheit. The superheated gas then passes over a separate pipe, heating the clean water inside. Huge pumps send the hot water through 250 miles of insulated pipes. A network that fans out to heat Sandvika. Oslo's sewage can heat up to 4,000 homes all year round. But there's another ingenious bonus. The pipe grid is designed to warm more than 400,000 square feet of sidewalk, melting hazardous snow and ice. It's a hugely complex system, feeding off a never-ending energy source. But there's one possible hitch. Engineers know that sewage could clog the system's narrow pipework at any moment.
I don't need to go into a whole lot of gruesome detail about what's in that sewage, but you do need a process that efficiently removes those substances which could be harmful to the heat exchange process.
Chris Baber knew he had to solve this problem to make his Olympic dream a reality. He took his lead from the Norwegian experts. For engineer Nurstiba, it's a daily struggle to keep the system free of lumps, junk, and even dead rats.
The sewage coming from the tunnel from Oslo, it flows through gates, a part of the flow, and into these strainers, where we separate the solids away from the sewage.
Inspired by Sandvika's innovations, Chris Baber believes he can warm the 20,000 residents of his Olympic project in Vancouver.
The residents of that community will have a long-term, renewable, locally available source of heat that's always going to be there, and they're not going to be as reliant on fossil fuels as other parts of the world.
Experts believe that by 2050, human waste could be a mainstream energy source. Sewage could keep over 7 million Ecopolis citizens warm.
I think the use of technologies like sewage heat recovery are absolutely essential for the long-term viability of our future megacities.
And engineers are devising even more bizarre ways to reuse human waste. In Taiwan, construction experts turn sewage into bricks. In the future, Ecopolis could be a city not only warmed by its own waste, but even built from it. The sewage heat system is the final idea for green technology whiz Dan Kamen to consider. Does Chris Baber's idea lead the waste technologies race? The carbon counters calculate the emissions that the system would save in Ecopolis. And it's not a great performer. It would slice less than 1% off the city's carbon footprint. That's lower than all of the other technologies, but Kamen still thinks sewage has potential.
Have this supply of waste material, we can extract heat from it. It applies to all manner of cities around the world. It can really help us to move towards some greener energy systems.
The scores are in. Kamen's decision looms. Which waste technology will he choose for Ecopolis, future megacity? Dan Kamen, leading renewable energy scientist, is assessing 4 technologies that could save Ecopolis from trash overload.
To deal with our mounting volume of waste, we're going to have technologies that effectively get rid of the waste and do so in an energy efficient manner.
Experts predict that by 2050, we'll be producing over twice as much garbage as we do now.
By 2050, these problems are going to multiply in all number of ways. This is really us trashing ourselves to death.
Kamen must choose the one method he thinks could help Ecopolis win its war on waste.
I need to make some choices between the technologies now. And beyond their effectiveness at reducing the waste problem at a good carbon score, they've also got to be cost effective, and they have to be technologies that cities can really put into practice.
Together, Camon's 4 technologies would slash 54 million tons of carbon from the megacity's emissions bill. In Oslo, Norway, scientists have taken energy from human sewage to heat the suburb of Sandvika. The carbon saving if we were to use sewage to heat Ecopolis, 1%. With possible environmental catastrophe looming, Camon fears that idea may not be big enough.
Capturing heat from the sewers is a nice idea. It's not, however, a huge issue. We're not going to power entire cities with it. It's a nice thing to do, but it's a complement to a wider set of sustainability measures.
Eng Tiang Singh's idea for islands made of trash off of Singapore's coast offers a neat alternative to standard landfills. And it could knock nearly 3% off Ecopolis's carbon emissions bill. But global warming could put a spanner in the works.
The longer-term issue is that using waste to build out new artificial islands is a process that we're going to be building new infrastructure right in harm's way, where global warming and sea level rise are going to have the most damaging effects. That's not an equation for long-term success.
Camon makes his first difficult cut.
The 2 I'm going to have to drop are the urban sewage heating systems and the Singapore landfill. They're both good steps. They can affect our solutions, but they're not enough of a hit to get us where we need to go.
That leaves 2 technologies going head-to-head: biochar and the gas plasma process. In Australia, Adriana Downey's biochar technology uses waste to create energy, boost farm crops, and even lock carbon into the soil. The carbon saving, an extraordinary 21%, making it our number cruncher's top performer. But Camon thinks manufacturing this super fertilizer could prove a complex process.
We're going to have to take our organic waste from the cities, transport it back out to the countryside, make char, get the energy, probably pipe that back into the cities, and manage the reintroduction of that organic material into the soils.
In the UK, Chris Chapman's gas plasma process not only eliminates trash, but also recaptures energy from it to power the megacity. The carbon saving, 3%. Camon has to make the final call between the 2 technologies.
The gasification takes our waste and makes it into energy. That's very attractive. But the biochar case has several things working for it.
Biochar could lock much of our excess carbon in the ground. It's time for Camon to make the big call: biochar or gas plasma technologies. Which idea will help turn Ecopolis from urban nightmare to model megacity?
Gas plasmification is a very attractive technology. The problem is it takes a lot of energy to do that process, to convert the materials into a gas. This gives me some doubts about how much of an upside this really has.
For Camon, there is a clear champion.
In this case, biochar is a very easy winner. It not only helps to solve the problem of our waste supply, but it also works us into a situation where we're thinking differently about agriculture. And finding places to actually store carbon, to sequester it, is a rare commodity. That pushes biochar into the lead and makes it a clear winner in this case.
Camon's choice transforms Ecopolis. Landfill sites vanish from the suburbs. Incineration plants shut down. Our organic waste revolutionizes agriculture. It's a brilliant yet simple technology. It cuts the amount of carbon Ecopolis sends into the Earth's atmosphere by an astonishing 41 million tons. Biochar could save the world from a looming waste crisis.